think that there is, I'm worrying about this about the NFL, and I wonder if it also applies to MMA. Do you think that there is always going to be MMA, there's always going to be NFL, boxing? Do you think these things are always going to exist, or do you think that as a society we're going to transition away from those as people start to become more concerned about brain injury, for example? Like, you've seen the NFL's ratings decline because people seem to be really worried about concussion levels.
Yeah. I think in the recent future we're going to have these things, but I think in the distant future we're probably not going to. I think we're going to move away from them because of the damage that they do, because we're going to understand, unless there's some radical new medical technology that can regenerate brain tissue to the point where you don't have to worry about brain injuries, which is not outside the realm of possibility. You know, I mean, medical science, what they're doing with stem cells and exosomes and all the different therapies that they're using on people today, who knows? I mean, who knows what they're going to be able to do 50 years from now? But I think it's entirely likely that until then, until some radical new technology comes on, I think there's probably going to be less and less people that are interested in having their kids sign up to play football. You're seeing that now. Definitely have less and less people interested in fighting since traumatic brain injuries have been revealed to be, you know, really prevalent in kids that are involved in like football, even at like Pop Warner and high school levels, and fighting. I mean, just from the time a kid can hit hard, you know, like you're in, you know, like one of the good things about martial arts, teaching kids young, is when you teach them young, they can't really hurt each other yet. So even when they're hitting each other, it's all very light, and they're learning technique and movement before there's real consequences. And then as they get older, though, you know, if you're sparring when you're a teenager and you're sparring when you're, you know, in your early 20s, you're absolutely giving yourself brain damage. It's just part of the package. That you have to just be able to figure out, okay, when have I suffered enough? When am I getting out? And that is the big question for a lot of fighters. When do I jump off this ride? Because it's so exciting, and what they're doing is such a incredibly thrilling and glory-filled event. You know, when you're competing against another person, they lock you in a cage. And the way I describe fighting, I mean, a lot of people like to think of it as a barbaric thing. I call it high-level problem solving with dire physical consequences. And that's really the best way to describe it, because you're trying to do something to someone who's trying to do something to you. And genetics and knowledge and technique and discipline and drive and focus, these are all factors that are mixed up in this thing, and you're trying to figure out who's going to come out on top.
I mean, I wonder if maybe that's the reason that MMA is going to keep growing as the NFL declines, is honesty and marketing. Yeah. When you watch MMA, you're watching people get the crap kicked out of them. I mean, you're watching people bleed and your bones get broken. The NFL's been promising for years that basically everyone's fine, that it's all just watching people hit pillows. And then you see them later and they can't walk and they're falling apart. MMA, I do wonder if there is a certain element of channeling just the human drive, particularly the male drive, for aggression in watching these kinds of sports. Because I know a lot of genteel dudes who love MMA specifically because there's part of just the human psyche that needs to watch people get their ass kicked.
Yeah, it's genetic. It's definitely in our core. I mean, it's what led people to overcome being invaded by you know, foreign villages that snuck in the middle of the night. You had to be able to fight with your hand. How people fought over mates, how people fought over territory and property. It's just a part of the human experience. And to have it boiled down into a martial art, then it's like you get all the satisfaction of watching combat, but at the end of it, people are friendly, they hug, you know, they shake hands, they raise each other's arms up, the audience cheers and claps, and it's very thrilling. And, you know, and some could say it's actually cathartic, that it actually releases this desire for aggression and violence.
Yeah, I think there's a good case to be made for that, especially because you do see that in the animal kingdom. You see chimpanzees sparring with each other basically just for a show of dominance. And you certainly see it among young boys. I can see it with my 2-year-old now.
Sure.
Who like constantly just wants to fight. Like the 4-year-old girl, she wants to sit there and be nice and play with her toys and read. And my 2-year-old boy wants to kick some ass. I mean, he is hardcore.